So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring up this device. Now, what you see here is actually an emulator that's running. So it really represents what you would see on an equivalent handheld device. We deal with the Intermec a lot, but really we support any device, Motorola, Intermec, almost anything that's running. And what you see here are all the different modules that are available within. Okay, so each module may have different pieces associated with it, but generally this is what you need to do in a warehouse or a shop environment. So, for example, production, we can issue material to a job and we can record the completion of production. So we can record the output of finished goods, we can track lot numbers, serial numbers, everything associated with that production directly from the handheld device if we want. We can actually also record from the handheld device the time associated with performing specific operations within the shop floor. License plating is disabled because I don't have it enabled within the warehouse configuration. That's a little bit of an advanced tool which allows us to build up a palette of mixed lot numbers or serial numbers or just mixed product, and then use one barcode to move that pallet around the warehouse to ship it, things like that. So it definitely streamlines warehouse operations if you're dealing a lot with mixed pallets and a lot of different lot numbers as well. We do have offline capabilities, so that's the scratch pad. If you have consignment locations or you have a yard where the wireless doesn't extend to, you can go out, scan an inventory count, for example, offline, and when you're back in range, you can upload that into the ERP system. And that's actually a good point. Everything that you do on this is live, and it just uses regular Wi-Fi. So your wireless network in your shop, same as what you'd have in the office. Everything you do is live and integrated with the ERP system. And that's important because what that means is you make a lot fewer mistakes because you're getting immediate feedback from your system on whether what you're doing is a valid operation or not. So, for example, if I try to ship something and the system is telling me you don't have that serial number in stock, the guy doing that operation will get immediate feedback at the warehouse level, and you can correct the problem before it propagates and causes a lot of problems downstream, right? So you can correct it at the actual source of the physical transaction. Back to the modules, inventory counts, so we can do full cycle counts, or full counts and cycle counts as well through the handhelds. Basic inventory inquiry, so if you want to do a quick adjustment or just find out what a barcode is, we can use that. Shipping, receiving, put away, and movements, all sort of standard warehouse type capabilities. On the left-hand side here, what I've got is just a little simulator, because I'm not running an actual device for this. When I click one of these links, it's the same as if I scanned an item with the handheld scanner. Okay? This guy up in the top left here, that's a 2D barcode. So if you're not familiar with the 2D barcodes, this is typically what we use within the system. We can support any barcode, including supplier barcodes. So if guys have UPC codes on there ahead of time, no problem. You scan those and they'll go into the system easily enough. If you're generating your own barcodes, though, the 2D barcode is the way to go. And the reason is we can encode a ton of information. A barcode this size, we can fit a couple hundred characters in. Okay? And what that means is if you are using, if you do need traceability on items, we can encode the lot number, serial number, even PO number that you received the goods off, all of that into one small little barcode. And that way, when I scan an item, I know immediately by scanning one barcode what the lot number is, what the expiration date is if you need that, all of those sorts of things immediately, right within the barcode. All right, so let's have a look at what the system actually looks like when you're using it, just the basic look and feel. So for that, I'll jump into inventory inquiry. And of course, these are all touch screens. When you see me clicking on the mouse, that would be somebody tapping the screen with their finger. From here, I can either type in an item number or bin number, or I could just scan it. So a guy's walking around the warehouse, finds an item, scans it, and it'll pop up and tell him exactly what it is and where it's supposed to be located. So in this case, if you remember, I had bins mandatory, which means everything is stored within a bin. If I scan one that's got a serial number, such as this guy here, it'll tell me what the serial number was in that barcode, again, give me the availability, And I can also do things like, basic drill downs. I can look at all the serial numbers available, whether they're reserved in the system or not for customers, those types of things. Okay. From here, I've got customizable menus, so you can add your own menus into the system. In this case, we've got a print menu, which, in this case, could print a barcode label, like if I want to reprint the label for it, or print whatever I like. That's all just set up within the system. If I scan a bin, I get a similar type of view. So I scan that bin, and here it tells me everything that's stored within that particular bin in the system. And same idea, I've got the ability to print new bin labels or item labels or whatever I've configured the system for, or even adjust inventory. So if I want to do some, on-the-fly adjustments of inventory from the handheld, I can do that. That, of course, is controlled by security, so you can allow it or disallow it based on the specific device or the specific user that logs into the device if you turn that functionality on. Okay. And that's the basic look and feel. It's fairly customizable. You can make it, look and feel the way you want, but that's generally the way it works. So if we look at how we actually perform a specific transaction, if I go in and let's say I need to ship an item, what I can do is I would go into the shipping module, and then if you want to go somewhat paperless, I can just do a lookup, click this, and locate the document that I actually need to ship. The chances are you're going to have a piece of paper on the shop floor that tells you what you're picking or shipping. So I would go over and I would just scan that document, and as soon as I scan that piece of paper, it brings up everything on that particular order that I need to ship. Okay. And in this case, I've got a few items on here, and everything, this total remaining quantity is 0, which means I've actually scanned everything that I need to ship already. Okay. If I go to a different document, I'll just grab one here, do the first one. Okay. We can see that these are the outstanding items that I need to ship for this particular order. There's one of the key reasons you want to look at using handheld devices and barcoding is the ability to coordinate your physical transactions with what your information system, your ERP system, thinks is happening. So, for example, when I ship this, the ERP system is thinking I'm shipping it out of this particular bin. Well, if somebody grabs it out of a different bin, your inventory is going to be wrong. Your pick tickets are going to send people to the wrong places to grab items and all those common problems with doing picking. So the nice thing about this is if I try and ship this without scanning the bin, the system will yell at me. That is configurable, so you can turn that option on and off, but generally we want that. We want the people to verify that they're doing what the system thinks they're doing. Okay, so for example, if I just scan that particular item, it yells at me immediately and tells me that I'm doing something wrong. So I can go ahead and I can scan the bin, and now it tells me that yes, I've scanned the bin, and then I'm able to scan that item and actually enter how many I'm actually shipping. And that is live again with the ERP system. So if I went into the system and I looked at this particular order, I would see that these guys are preparing to ship, in this case, a quantity of 1 of that. And I can see that happening in real time. So it's all integrated and coordinated. If that happened to be an item that required a lot number or a serial number, it would prompt me for that as well if it wasn't encoded in the barcode. If it was in the barcode, it would automatically capture that item traceability information with this particular transaction. From the screen as well, since I'm sort of in the shipping screen, I can go ahead and at this point I can actually post this document. So if I hit that button and I have the appropriate permissions to do it, this will actually generate all the shipping documents for me, print them out on the printer by the shipping dock, and I'm off to the races. So right from the handheld device, I can scan everything I need to ship, hit a menu, it records that transaction in the ERP, prints out my shipping documents, and I'm off to the races. I never have to go back into the office to hit a button or anything again. Okay. Any questions about that so far? No? Excellent. All right, the rest of it works works largely the same way. So with receiving, it's the same idea. I can scan an item to, a barcode to receive, or I could just do a lookup list and grab, one of the documents I need to deal with. Within the system, we can assign it to certain people, and you can restrict their list to only their documents that they've been assigned. So, picks and putaways and things like that are a common document that you might assign to people. But if I bring this in, this is basically a receipt. In this case, it happens to be a PO number, but we can do receipts from transfer orders and other documents as well. And it's the same basic idea as what I had with the shipping. I can scan the items at this point, so I can actually scan the barcodes and then record the quantities or the lot numbers or anything else that's required. Or if, depending on how I've got it configured, I can just go in and enter the quantities that I'm receiving. So in this case, I will scan the actual bill. You'll notice in this case, I'm able to go in and enter a quantity without scanning the actual product. And the reason you might want to do that, of course, is if you're getting product in that's not already barcoded, and maybe you aren't barcoding that product. Maybe you're just, putting it in a bin that has the barcode label on it instead. So we do give you that option to not have to scan the product that you're receiving, so that you can manually enter it. Ideally, you'd actually scan the barcode so that you can be sure that when I enter a quantity for this particular item, I physically scan that item to identify that that's what I'm receiving. And again, from this, what I can do is at this point, I could print the labels, so I could actually print barcode labels for these items. I could reprint a copy of this particular receipt document. Really whatever you want. You can add as many of these menu items as you like and have it print any report you like. And I can also post this, which is essentially recording that transaction within the ERP system. Okay. I mentioned license plating earlier. This is a place where you might use it. So as you're receiving, you can start building up pallets of the items that you're receiving, and then you generate one barcode per pallet, and then you can just move that pallet around by scanning the single barcode. All right. I won't get into pick, put away, and move too much. Movements simply allow you to go in and move things around in the warehouse. Picking and put away, they're very similar screens to shipping and receiving. They're just, if you have that enabled within the warehouse configuration, it'll force you to go and pick the document, pick all the product first before I can actually go and ship it. Okay? So depending on how you've got the configuration set up, you may or may not use pick and put away. As I mentioned, move. If I want to move product from one bin to another, I want to record that within the ERP system. If you're doing your inventory control by bin, so this allows me to go ahead and either on an ad hoc basis scan, the product I'm moving from which bin to which bin, or I can set it up in the ERP system and say, here's a bunch of product I want you to move. The guy with the handheld comes out, it lists everything, and you can go ahead and process that from the handheld. This is typically used if you have, a two-step receiving process where you first receive it into sort of a QC area, and when it's done, you move it from the QC area into the actual pick bins that you're using. So that's the purpose of the moves in most organizations. Production, again, we can record the material that we use and also what we're finishing on the production side of things. I won't get into that too much. And of course, the inventory count lets us go ahead and either predefine inventory count sheets, which tell us what to count. So in this case, this would provide a list of everything I need to count, or I can just go through the warehouse and scan what I find, and it will build up that list. And then within the ERP system, I go ahead and reconcile that inventory, and I can determine, what I need to recount and where my discrepancies are. So very easy. You just, the easiest way is you say, you take this aisle, scan everything you find, and, the system will capture that, and you've got your inventory count. All right. Any specific questions on that so far?
Not on our part.
Okay. I've covered off the bulk of the handheld scanning capability. Does anybody here do manufacturing?